Gentlemen, what do you do after you get assigned? So this is something that always kind of shakes up new traders, even seasoned traders. Like you wake up one morning, your buying power's all out of whack, like you got shares, like everything looks all like kind of, off kilter and out of place. What do you guys do? I mean, obviously the first thing you do is you freak out, right? Because everybody freaks out when they get assigned. And so what do
True.
you do after you freak out? What's the next step?
Well, in Jermal's case, you close the shares, resell the put you were assigned, and you pick up another $200 in premium because the counterparty
That's
made a
it.
mistake and gave him $200 immediately.
Yeah.
That's it. End of the show.
Yeah, that's it.
That's
That's
happened
it.
to
Shut it
me.
down.
That has happened to me once. So I don't know about you, Dr. Jim, but that has happened to me once in a different product where I was assigned and I celebrated because I was like, this literally just gave me $200 immediately because it's the same as like fast forwarding an expiration. You get all the extrinsic value or you keep all the extrinsic value you already sold. And I literally closed the shares, resold the option, and picked up another $200 in premium. But
I got signed on a August 35 put in IBIT, so it's literally a like 57 delta, and yeah, somebody made a mistake on that one.
yeah,
So it was
Concentrated
only
32.
so it was barely in the money, or it was still
Yeah.
out of the money.
It was
Barely? Okay.
It was in the money by $2.50, I guess. As of like that Thursday's close.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean the call option was worth like $1.50, $1.75. It was it was a mistake.
yeah.
Yeah, that and just to slow down for people that might be brand new, like this is so interesting because remember, whenever we get assigned as the short side of the contract, the other side, the long side, a call or a put, it doesn't matter. They are giving up, they are foregoing whatever extrinsic value might be in that option. And so what happened to Jermal is he was actually assigned on an option that still had a couple dollars worth of extrinsic value. So because he was assigned, he effectively got out. He was kind of let off the hook, if you will, of that extrinsic value. He saw the assignment. He's like, well, I'm just going to close the shares and resell the exact same put to get that extrinsic value working for me again. And so that's what he's talking about for people that might be brand new and a little bit confused. Whenever the long side exercises, they lose out on the extrinsic value. So that's why we typically say, as long as there is extrinsic value in your option, like I would say at least 15 or 20 cents is usually plenty. That's going to be enough to kind of, prohibit the other side from exercising because they don't want to give up that extrinsic value because they lose out on that economically.
Mm-hmm.
100%. Yeah. There's a few examples or edge cases where that might not be the case. Maybe we'll hit on them after these slides here. But yeah, extrinsic value prevents you from getting assigned. But if you are assigned, the next step depends on the strategy, I would say. But yeah, the number one thing is likely to close the trade and free up that buying power. There's likely a better situation that you can use for that buying power.
That's right. So you get assigned, right? Again, the first couple of times it happens, it's kind of jarring. It's kind of eye-opening. Sometimes your buying power actually slips negative. Like that can certainly happen, which is also, by the way, nothing to freak out about. Like that's fine. You just got to clean it up. Like you get it cleaned up that day, like you're totally fine. But remember that, using options, we're getting all this buying power relief. We're getting all these capital savings. When you do get assigned, it oftentimes eats up a ton of buying power because now you have to hold the share position. And so the default setting, I think most of the time, is going to be to close the trade. Like, let me close the trade, even if it's not a mistake, like what you benefited from there, Jermal. Even if it is like a legitimate assignment, like, all right, that makes sense. Usually just close the trade and either move on to a brand new trade and just be done with it, or reestablish a similar position using the options to kind of tap into that buying power relief. And so I think option number one is you close the trade and you get back to something more active.
I like it.
Yeah.
Option number two, sometimes you might want to hold the position. I mean, how often would you guys say you get assigned and you actually want to hold the actual shares to have that clean delta?
Want to or have to?
I mean, it's pretty, I would say it's pretty often for me just because the strategies that I'm doing, like if I'm selling a put, like I have ETH for a great example. ETH sold a put at 18, it's at 11 now. I'm probably just going to take the shares to get that static delta to try and rally it all the way back from 11 to 18. And if you have a short put that's assigned, like this is bound to be assigned that I have here. If I roll this out to August, I'm not going to pick up any extrinsic value to do that. I'm probably using a similar amount of buying power. That's one thing, is like maybe with a similar position, if I'm using a lot less buying power with a short put, 7 points in the money, then maybe I'll just resell the short put for a penny or two. but that'll probably be assigned as well. So I'm ultimately going to end up with shares here. I would say the one thing where you're actually better off holding the shares is if you have a spread that is assigned on the short option. You still have the long option because your buying power shouldn't change. If your buying power increases, then you should close the position and restart. But if it doesn't, you now have unlimited max profit to the upside, and you've already paid for your long protected put.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a great point. Jermal, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, there's sometimes where I'll hold on to it, and it probably depends on the size of the name, depends on how much buying power is being affected. You know, Ethe is a great example, right? Where something like that, I feel like I would hold on to if I had a short put in that, and I got assigned, I would hold on to the shares.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, especially when you get into like these lower price stocks where it's like, okay, the buying power savings, like in an absolute sense, is just not that significant. Like it's just not going to be that big of a difference when it comes to, you know, whether it's, you know, a few $100s for the put or, $600 or $700 for the actual shares. I mean, it can be very, very kind of inconsequential in the grand scheme of, you know, 20, 30, 40, $50,000 portfolio, what have you. It's just not going to make that big of a difference. But if you do take the shares, I think kind of the standard approach is like, okay, if I want to hold these shares, you know, Mike, you bring up a really interesting point. There's a lot of times where you're going to want to actually hold the static delta. You want that clean delta on that direction of the market so that you can benefit from a recovery back in your favor. But if you do want to get premium working for you, so Laura, bring us back to the slide here. This is where it's just kind of going to like a standard, the previous slide, Laura. This is where just going to like a standard covered call or a standard covered put is going to make a lot of sense. I mean, obviously, a lot of wheel traders do this with like short puts. You get assigned, you take the shares, you sell calls, you know, the calls go in the money, everything goes away, and then you sell another put and you kind of start the process over again. But you can do the same thing on the call side. Like if you want to be short the market and you want to, you know, you get assigned on the short call, you take the short shares, you can sell puts against those shares too. And again, remember, I mean, the puts typically have the volatility skew baked into those. And so you get picked up, you're able to pick up a decent premium for doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is that's the wheel strategy. Sell a put, take the shares, create a covered call, continue that cost basis reduction. And yeah, lots of ways to stay involved with extrinsic value.
Tons of ways to stay involved. So the one thing you want to be mindful of, if you take the shares, you need to be mindful of your break-even points. And this is probably what you were kind of alluding to there a couple of minutes ago, Mike, with your Ethe position. It's like, all right, if I get assigned on an 18 put and the stock is at 11, you know, you sold that guy for what, $1, $2? Like, what'd you sell it for?
$275. Actually,
oh, that's not too shabby. So,
yeah.
So now, but even still, your break-even point, it's over 15, right? So you've got the stock at 11. This is where it kind of puts you into a little bit of a bind there. So, Laura, bring us back to the actual slide here for a second. So if we think about like the couple of examples I have here, we got Starbucks and we've got Nvidia. So let's say that I want to sell a 90 put in Starbucks. I sell it for $2. Starbucks is over 100, whatever. I get assigned my long shares. Well, if Starbucks falls all the way down to 80 and I sold this put for $2, now my break-even point is 88 and the stock is sitting at 80. And so this is very similar to your Ethe position there, Mike. What do? This is kind of tricky, right? Because if I'm going to sell a call that's going to have any type of economic significance, as I like to say, it's likely going to be underneath your basis. And so if you're going to do that, you just have to be very clear that you understand what you're signing up for. And what you are signing up for is, okay, if this thing comes back to me in this cycle, it's going to be a loss. Like I'm not going to be able to recover everything in this cycle. I'm going to need multiple cycles to do that. And then similarly, if like Nvidia, you've got Nvidia, you know, if I sell a 225 short call and Nvidia rips to 250, I sell for $5 and then I get assigned the shares and my break even point is 230. It's like, all right, which put do I sell? Do I sell a 240? That's still kind of, you know, above my basis, or do I sell, you know, a 220 or a 200? Just always be mindful of that break even point, because you want to understand where's my basis in this and does it even make sense to sell premium against the shares? Because I would actually say at least 50% of the time, if not more, just holding the clean delta makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. Holding the clean delta does make a lot more sense. Which of these would you like to sell in those situations?
For which one there,
Either
Jermal?
one.
Starbucks, because we're not going to short shares of Nvidia.
Well, I believe so. First of all, I believe it's pronounced Nvidia. So let's make sure we get that cleared away. And then also, I really don't like selling calls underneath my basis or selling puts above my basis. And so I really don't like locking in that loss. And so I would actually personally rather just hold the shares. And so if I can't sell something economically significant that is above my basis, like if we're talking about Starbucks here, I'm not going to sell anything. I'm just going to hold the shares. And now I'm a long-term investor. Like now I'm just, I'm Warren Buffett. I'm Benjamin Graham. Like I'm just doing this thing for the long term.
Yeah. I think that's something to consider. Like it's the same idea as like a calendar spread, and you sell the short option, the stock goes against you, you peel off the short option. You've already reduced your cost basis. You don't need to have a short option on at all times because that's like you don't need to just because that's what you think you need. Like in this case in Starbucks, economic significance for me is like if you're trying to sell something against your shares that you've acquired with a break even at 88, if you're selling the 90 strike call above your break even point, you have a nice wiggle room between your break even and that 90 strike call. But if that call is only trading for 10 cents, 15 cents, that's too cheap for you to cap your upside.
Right.
Like it needs to be 50 cents minimum, $1, I would say is where I like to be at. And I would also say if you're selling below your break even, you have to have an alert on, or you have to have the ability to get to your platform quickly, because to your point, Dr. Jim, you don't want to lock in a loss on this position. Like what's the point in having undefined risk if you are locked in a loss? Like I just don't see it. So what you could do is, let's say you sell the 85 for $1.50 or whatever, and Starbucks goes from 80 to 84. Well, I would want to get an alert at least at 84. So I know if I get hit at 84, I can buy back my 85, roll it out a month or two and move it up to the 90. So you have the ability to be flexible with that offensive covered call roll. If you search offensively rolling covered calls on YouTube or tastylive, you'll be able to find this where we go in depth with this. But to your point, like if I don't have the access to the platform, I'm not going below break even because I don't want to lock in the loss. There's no point in holding a position with a locked in loss if you can help it.
That's exactly. No, I love that. I love that. It's very similar to like with the strangle, right? Like you get tested on the call side, you're rolling up and out, like you're creating that additional space, and it's just there's so many things that you can do.
Yeah.
And so, all right. So as a premium seller, getting assigned from time to time is an annoying cost of doing business, but with a clear understanding of the options available to you after assignment, an assignment can either be closed immediately or transitioned into a more directional play with premium against it, or even held as that static clean delta.